Okay, now we're going to video 2 of 3. Euroseas Limited. Whoa, what is that? Look at that. Sales and income. Net income is almost the same as the sales. I don't know what they do. I'm curious. A holding company. Ocean Going Transportation Services. Yeah. Okay. Earnings in 17 days. Technically, you have support through 24 and sellers everywhere above. If by some miracle you take out that 28.50, you're up here. Meanwhile, I would rather buy the dip closer to 24. That P&L is too perfect for my taste. But you can't argue with it, but it's too perfect for my taste. So again, I would like it better inside this area, technically. The P&L is, whoa, untouchable. Like in a good way. Energy Transfer Partners, it beeped at me. Why? Because I set an alert saying, if you come here, let me know. Now they might bounce. They need a bounce. If they don't, let's zoom out and see what happens. Yay! Okay, so on a daily basis, this is a well-contested area, but it's an area that extends through 12.8, 12.7. So the closer it is to 12.7, I'm intrigued better. Okay, I don't know a lot about the business, but chart-wise, I'm interested more lower. Copper miner, I think, falling into a prior bounce, almost like the ET. They should bounce. How high they can go, I don't know. There are sellers scattered into 38. Earnings, no, they just reported. What if they lose this? If they lose this, they come down to this area, 29. Zooming in to see some details. Yeah, losing the Monday, whenever that date was, will open the door to 32 or 31.5. They're selling rallies inside of a descending channel. There is a spike coming, hopefully comes soon enough to get you to 37. So it's worthy, but you should put stops. FDX and UPS, I'm done with these two. I took a loss on UPS because of nothing I did wrong. Headlines about labor, and it's just... it's a business to be in, I guess. Labor problems for GM. What is this? 1985. Airlines, car makers, and transportation companies having labor issues. Thanks, Dave. So FDX has a bounce area. This zone below 221. Sorry, solid support. But if we bounce here and we curl and lose it, the target becomes like 196, and I don't want to find out. Honestly, for me, I am out of this, and I will never trade those two stocks again ever in my life. Not UPS, not FedEx, not for me. Weak management let that stuff happen. Whether they did it to themselves or not, I don't care. I'm not involved. I'm out. If I'm in it, I have support below. I would use any strength to get out and put my money somewhere else. It's easier to trade the S&P than to trade this whacked out thing. The rallies are too harsh, the drops are too harsh, and the business is stable. Why? Because there's outside headline factors that you and I cannot control, and they're like biotech companies. They have all the risk and none of the reward when you're a seller of premium. So I'm not involved. I would use strength to get out just because I can roll the money into something else that's a little bit more predictable. That's it. What is this? Franco-Nevada Corporation. What do they do? Gold Focus Royalties. Okay, another one of those P&Ls I don't understand. The net income is way too good, so you should study the business and figure it out. Technically, luckily, you have a solid buyer below and a solid seller above, so nothing should happen. If it gets to 143, 142, it's going to be met with a lot of selling. If by some miracle you take out 144, which was the fail recently, you may get to 150. Earnings in 10 days, looks like that shouldn't be a problem, but what do people expect? and hard buy or below. You have immediate support from last week and backup support from the last couple of months. So Frontline. What does Frontline do? Shipping company. Oh my gosh. Good P&L. Look at that quarterly P&L. Maybe too good? I don't know. Again, why does a company prospects turn on a dime in such a massive way so quickly? That raises so many flags in my book. Like, you can't go from a net income of 30 million to 230 million, 10x in 5 quarters without something unusual happening. Like Zim, I keep going back to Zim because it's probably the same business. The P&L went ballistic and then it went to zero again. So I don't understand these things. So just be careful with that. Let's do some chart comments. The chart comments are easy. This is what I call THTH. Too high to chase and too hot to short. It's just what there's nothing the chart that can tell you. The chart, whoa, what the? Okay, well, let's back up. What is this? Okay, so I went to a weekly breakout. Let me get some context. What? This thing was $360 in 2008. So clearly there's history there. It's a breakout. You can't deny it. So it's too high to chase in my book, and it's too hot to short. But look at what happened the last time it was here in these two red boxes. Not an obvious entry point. That would be the nicest way of saying it. It's a NOPE acronym, not an obvious point of entry. This one, gambling.com. Is that the name of the company? Gambling.com? Okay. You just lost or are in the process of losing a super important level of support. If they don't get back to 1320 quickly, I think they get to 1150, 1160, 1180. They get down to this area down here. Okay, little shorter term action. Yep, second. If this pops, it might do this. If it pops, it might curl back down, lose where it popped from, and finish the job down to here. Something like that. Just be aware that this is possible. And also earnings are coming in 17 days, so put that in there. GoDaddy, almost similar comments. I think that it's trying to hold support so it doesn't go back to secondary support around 69. So the rallies, I think, will be met with sellers, and it could curl back down. Oh, earnings in 4 days. I'm not about to gamble on these reactions. They are coin flips. So the one before that was a down, down, down. I guess there's no flipping coins. Down. My gosh, yeah. Down. Yeah, no. Not for me. It seems like it does not like the reaction to the earnings. So you're saying, oh, they have 5 downs and they're due for an up. You'd be correct, but I think they could bounce up off of 69. So take your picks. Generac. Oof. So I had sold a put at 80 and I rolled it down. And I will exit it for a loss if it doesn't behave any better going into its earnings in 3 days. Or I will just buy a put to protect myself. I collected a couple of $100 to open the put. So my break-even point is, I don't know, somewhere around 76, 75. I have to double check my numbers. But anyway, I am not going into the earnings unprotected. It's one of the worst puts I've sold in a long time. There is no support from the chart because the support is too old to matter. I mean, if you zoom back, you might find support, but it's too old. Okay, so I would not stay sold a put unprotected. I would buy a put even for $200 and give back all of my money so I don't get blown out. I hope this is clear. The business is okay, but why is the stock acting like it's going out of business? And earnings in 3 days. Not a good situation. All right. This company reported, and the reaction was not favorable during the period of time where the markets were on their heels. So maybe if the markets were not on their heels, the outcome would have been different. The company is still on rails. You've heard me say that the people had an issue with they're not spending enough money. What? The P&L was fine. The report was just fine. It's the expectations. Now, this is an area that has been a target for a while, but they've averted it. Averted here, and here it is. They filled the technical target. So falling here is a lot easier than falling through here. But I want to show you something. It was near an all-time high when markets were trying to find support. So if you look left and you say there was no earnings, you would say, okay, I see why it fell. Last time it was here, multiple times, it fell hard, almost to the dollar. So this is okay. And the bounce here might curl back down and drop to this area, and it would also still be okay. So I'm not adding if I'm long. If I want to get long, I'm only nibbling because I think the markets are going to rally. If I don't think the markets are going to rally, I don't think there's an emergency to get into Google here for an investment for the long term, all in. If I want to nibble, just fine. I like it a lot better into 112. Maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't. But I do like it a lot better down there. So I'm going to put an alert slightly above that, an alert slightly below that. And if you want to sell a put or a put spread down there, maybe that's the way to do it. And I will add it, but you will need the right portfolio. Somebody that has money that wants to get into, say, 2, 3, 4, 500 shares can start selling puts on bad days when the VIX is high. This way, if the markets just stabilize, those puts will make you money. And if they don't and you get assigned, then you got paid to buy Google shares lower. But not everybody can do that in the account because it is over $100 share. Global Shipping Leasing Company. Okay. What is it with these shipping companies? Is that one person submitting all these shipping companies? I caution you getting all your investments into one industry. What is happening here? That's a solid P&L, solid stock into solid support. You don't need my help. They have buyers scattered through 17. If you lose 17, the stock goes to 14.50 in a series of lower lows and lower highs. So get back above 18. Beat this candle or you're in danger of drifting lower. It has a lot of support, so it's not like emergency. It has a lot of support. But now you have solid buyers and solid sellers. One of these two will fail. Who? I don't know. Harmony Gold Mining Limited. Wow. Very strange collection of tickers today. That looks like a snake. Gold miner. Again, gold is super strong. That puts these guys in the line of fire of disappointments for the next couple of weeks. No earnings. They just reported. So these candles came too fast, but so did these. So I'm thinking if you split the two, it has buyers below 4.4 in this area. And it has a lot of sellers. You just saw them at work. What if gold pulls back a little bit? IBKR, Interactive Broker, falling out of control. Support is below, but it's scattered through 74. So from here to here, there are buyers. Rallies will find sellers. Anything above 83, 84, 85. Seller, seller, seller. Do what you need. Good company. Losing a neckline like the S&P, like the QQQ. I bet you this looks like a QQQ. Almost identical. They're just losing last week, recently. You need to get back above that at the top end of that green box. So not to lose this one, because if you lose this one, you're coming down to here and test these supports. So now you will get a pop. I would use the pop to book profits, or if I entered for an opportunity to swing it all the way up to here, which is doable because they are buying dips inside this channel. It will need the market to recover. Otherwise, I think it's easier to get to 100 than it is to get to 118. I think that's the fairest way of saying things. Intel it fell into solid support and it popped on earnings. I can't remember the last time Intel was so excited on earnings. And it did here and gave it all back up. So not an obvious entry point into an above 37. Let's see what they do with 37. But the bulls are doing higher lows and higher highs. Now, if it comes back, and that's a big if Intel loses this area here, which is 32, I think Intel goes to 29, 28, which would make a pretty good starting point again. Okay. JBL, not an obvious entry point, and I can just leave it at that. Jabil, that means the business is pretty solid. It's not great, but it's solid business. So people who are investing in Jabil are enthusiastic, to say the least. Yeah, this stock is too high to chase for me and too hot to short. I don't know how to handle these. I mean, if you're asking me to invest, this is not an obvious point of entry for a long-term investment all in. If you want to get engaged with a couple of bites, that's fine. You can't argue with this chart. Solid. KMI, Kinder Morgan. If it's known for dividend, all the dividend playing stocks are being sold because of how easy it is now to collect 5% from lending the government money. So you can rest assured that if it pops into 1750, 60, it's going to find a lot of sellers. It's easier to come down to 1520 than it is to come up to 1840. You're in support, so it's not an exit point, but you should know that the rallies are going to be labored and they're selling them. Look how many rallies got sold back into the base. So figure out, are you trading or investing? I think sellers into 1680, 1690, and buyers into 1590. Coke, again, boring P&L, which should be a boring stock chart. Far from it. Look at that thing. Trades like it's Tesla. Who knew? It's so exciting to trade Coca-Cola when the P&L is like this. Don't know what's going on. The bears have the advantage. It's going to be almost impossible to get back above 58 without a massive rally in the market. It's going to be easier to retest support, which is solid support. So I think it's stuck. It needs a headline to go up or down significantly. If it gets to 59, I think it's going to be met with hard sellers, and there should be hard buyers below. Ping pong. And there's no catalyst. They already reported. So I don't know what to do with it. Lilly. I don't trade Lilly because this stock is out of its mind. It's too high to chase, and if you want to trade it, you better be a good trader. So from that perspective, you have a hard buyer into 540 and 525, and a definite seller at 600. If you take out 600, you have a chance of making a higher high. I would not short it, just because of what it did during market turmoil. Goodness. LUV, I wouldn't touch it with my enemy's money, as they say. From an investment perspective. This company used to be fantastic, and now I don't know where. I fly once a month, and not one time did they show up on my radar as a possibility to fly, because I use search engines to pick a flight, and they force me to go to their website. So I guess what? Screw you. You don't have anything special, so I'm not going to use you. So from that perspective, it's not for me to invest. Trading-wise, it's falling, it's losing. Support zone from the pandemic. I don't know why they would lose it. So from that perspective, it's curious to hold along. But it's also dangerous because there's no significant support for years on back. So be careful what you do with it. They just reported, and that didn't lend any help. If I'm long, I'm curious. I would hold it a couple of days. If I'm looking to get long and I want to risk a couple $100 on it, I would, from that perspective. But there's nothing you're trading. You're trading hope. Meta, solid support, but I tell you what, though, I don't know a mystery company, but let's say it does this and then the markets have a hiccup and for whatever reason Meta loses 275-ish. I think this possibility lives there. It's not a probability, but I want to be aware of it. So I don't know how to word this. So that was a short up there. That was a fantastic short. We'll delete it. And I will put an alert, an arrow saying, just be aware. Be aware. If the markets have a tizzy, this might happen. What is this? Messy chart. If the market crashes 10%, I think Meta could be at 240. I wouldn't short it for that. But they have sellers above at that fight line. This is shorter term of this. This was a fight line for a long time. And they lost it. So now they have to deal with it on the way up. So I think they have sellers into 308. And they have super strong buyers into 280. They're going to ping pong inside this wide range until something drastic happens. MGA, it's falling out of control. P&L is not. So you have to ask yourself, like Square, what's going on? If you look left, there's no support. They lost this one like it's not there. Okay, so there's this one. This one dates back to October, the October bottom in the market. I would hold it, but with stops. If I'm long with stops. And I would exit on rallies. Philip Morris. I don't know when I put this orange thing here, but boy, did they live up to it. I said they're selling rallies, and this is just a copy of prior performance. Copied over a couple of times. And it's playing out, so just copy it over. The next rally, sell it. There's no recent support, so I don't know why it wouldn't go to 37. But it would rally first. So let's say it rallies. It's going to hit this area and going to find sellers and maybe do this. If you think about it, we'll give it another color. Beware. This is not a forecast, but it's a possible behavior. Medical properties, lower lows, lower highs. Where's the bottom? Nobody knows. Okay, so let's say the bottom is 4.6, 4.5, and the top is 5.5. Ping pong, ding, 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 between the two until one fails. You lose this one, you come up to here, maybe you snapped out of this descending channel. Until then, assume they lose this one and come down to here. That's the assumption, because they could be here. They bounced hard, came back, lower low, bounced hard, came back, lower low, question mark. So if you want a visual, from here, they bounced, maybe they're here, but they ended up here. So just beware, okay? That's a visual, how that happens. We don't know yet. 4.8 could be solid support. Let's see. Microsoft, what did they do again? Oh, yeah. Okay, so Microsoft, good company. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the market. So let's zoom back out to one day, take out all the lines. Doing well in the face of tough market. Super strong seller at 345. Super strong buyer at 311. Ping pong between the two until one fails. You lose 311, I think you will get a nice entry under 290. I will put an alert. And down here, I would put a better alert. So if we lose 310-ish, 309. Hi, Peter. You just popped into my mind because I owe you an email. Maybe we'll trade that again, Peter. I'll write it up for us. So this is potential entry zone for me. I don't think it goes there unless the market falls. Metals acquisition, yeah, nothing I can offer you here. You're going to have to do homework on the chart's not going to help you. Newmont, hard buyer, hard seller, stuck in the middle, literally in the middle. You can also say it's the middle of this area, middle of that area. So it's a contention zone. It can drift up. If they can take out 41, they can get up to here. And they have strong buyers. So the next dip is buyable. Into that was stops. Into that was stops. You can be long to benefit from the breakout. it's not bad. Netflix, it's hard to trade these days. Lower lows, lower highs, descending channel. The level from where they bounced, 250, 350, 340 is a solid level. If they go down there, go long again. Up here, it's like in an island. Yeah, definitely, Peter. So this is an island. What do you do with it? I know there's a hard seller above and a hard buyer below. So the best thing, maybe an iron condor, now that earnings are gone. But I wouldn't hold calls all by themselves unless they fall back into here. Until then, I would sell a credit put spread and credit call spread, maybe even sell a strangle if you know what to do, what you're doing. Nike, solid trade. Yeah, solid stock. We traded it. I'm not in it right now. If it falls into this area, it's tradable on the long side. Meanwhile, that red line, that's the supply of a lot of sellers. Don't take my word for it. Look left. That's the highest point of volume of what you see on the screen. Let's see my comments. Okay, so I thought that it could dip and then recover. It didn't dip, thank goodness, so it just recovered. But I was hoping it would dip to get long. That's what that box is for. If it fallen here on earnings, I would have gotten long here, but that didn't happen. So I guess we can take that out so we don't confuse people. Support, get long. If you did, you didn't lose money, you made money. It went a little bit lower. So now you have solid buyers inside that green box and solid sellers inside that red line. Strong resistance. You can move, whoops. We can move that to this area and extend it a little bit like this. Buy the dip in Nike is always correct. ServiceNow, stuck in a battle. They can't snap out of it. Shorter term, 578 or higher, tail, seller, 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 seller. Buyer, 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 and even a buyer here. So solid support scattered below, solid resistance scattered above, ping pong inside here, just like Netflix. There's nothing to do other than just selling premium and waiting for that to happen. Nugget, again, I'm hesitant to allocate money into companies who benefit from higher gold prices, and that's what they're doing. So gold's super strong and they're stuck between a range is concerning because they are stocks and they are burdened by the S&P. So if the S&P is falling, these guys are not going to catch a break, regardless of what gold does. They do for a bit, but then they go back and follow the market. So I think they have support inside the zone of 29 to 28, 27.50. I think they have a lot of sellers above. If by some miracle they can take out 33.20, they can get to a couple more dollars. NVIDIA, I wouldn't touch it because of AMD. AMD reports first, NVIDIA second. NVIDIA has a date with 380, maybe 325. If I say this, I'm going to get cussed out. If it doesn't bounce here, it's going to 380 and then pop and then drift lower to 325. And if it pops here and they sell it hard and they lose this level of support from this last week, it's an easy trip to 380. Why? Because there's never been a trade down in that area. There is an area, I don't know exactly where it's at, where NVIDIA had 0 trades, 0. It gapped up against its prior all-time high. I've never seen a mega cap do that. Somebody challenged me. Yes, it did. I looked. I didn't find it. If you can find it, give me the date when that happened. They even pointed that this stock has done it before. I don't think it has. I don't think it's ever gapped up above a prior all-time high with no trades. But it has performed well in the past, so don't short it based on my comments. Just be sure to expect it in case it comes. NVO, this is a pivot point into 91, 90.5. So it's a better long than a short, but earnings are coming, so I have no confidence in anything I say because the earnings are a wild card, and you have to respect that wild card. Hard sellers at 96.5 and above, hard buyers below. What does it do? I have no idea. Realty income, I wouldn't touch those. First of all, it's a real estate company-ish, and it's an income trade. which unless they pay 20% dividend, they're going to have to compete with a sure thing 5% dividend from the government. So make sure you know what you're investing in. Hard floor. If that floor gives way, I don't know where it goes lower. So let's zoom out and see. Go to a daily chart. A trip to 40 is doable in that thing. And if it gets to 40, does it get to, sorry, not to 40. What is that number? 48. And if it gets to 48, why not 45? Because the support is too far back. And I guarantee you sellers above. So you should study this company before you invest in it. The chart might not help you. OILK, crude oil strategy ETF. Does this track the price of oil? Is that what this is? Yes. So if you want to trade in crude as instead of the USO, the USO is thin enough. How thin is this one, options wise? You're stuck. Hard buyer, hard seller. If crude oil spikes, this one goes above 51.5, 51.2, it goes to 57. So don't short. Higher lows, you can be long. You can buy the dip into the support zone to curl back up. I think oil is manipulated. So you have to trade the rhetoric. You have to listen to headlines in this stock because it's all about the headlines. It's not about the fundamentals. We're not using more oil than we have before. So it's not supply and demand. We have plenty of oil everywhere in the world. We just choose not to pick it in the US. So there's no supply issues. There's no demand strength. It's nothing but headlines and oils. Okay, so Octa falling into losing support. Very scary situation. You don't want this arrow to come because this arrow is bigger than this arrow. Okay, high flying stock, earning in 32 days. There's no reason why it's not at 57. Okay, so I would not be long Octa here. It's intriguing. Trade-wise, maybe I'll hold it for a couple of hours if I'm a trader. But from an investment perspective, it's not for me here. There's no immediate support, so I'm afraid. Whoops, section. That is the next video, so I will repeat those comments. Thank you. I know somebody said. Okay.